let's talk about presentation and women, females,
Sure.
girls. Why, in your view, have so many females been missed?
Because some of us wear pink dresses.
Good answer.
Thanks. It's true, though. I think a lot of it is about stereotypes and about expectations. So, I think most of our listeners know that there's been a very male-heavy view of autism over the years. And certainly I wasn't aware of female autism until, a number of years ago, really. I've spent a lot of time over the last few years giving talks on autistic women and what that looks like. Only to conclude everyone that actually that's just a new stereotype. And please don't stereotype, because it's not going to help the woman who doesn't have the stereotypically female interests.
Yes.
Like I love Formula One.
Yeah.
That's my big thing. So there are certainly differences in terms of actual presentation, in terms of what kinds of features. Generalizations are making me uneasy, Ben, but there is probably more masking in women that makes it potentially slightly more nuanced to understand. That doesn't mean it's more complicated or it's deceptive. It just means proceed with a little care. That's all it means.
I guess it's this conundrum, isn't it, for society, that every autistic's different and there isn't a one size fits all, and there aren't these overly simplistic presentations, male, female, whatever. It's not just trains, and there isn't the same stereotypical train special interest for females either.
I think there are.
Okay.
So I would say sort of in my area, people would say, you've got to look out for things like, do they like to line up their lip gloss and sniff lip gloss and collect makeup and have a ritual around face care? And you're like, that's great. But a lot of people have the sort of sensory stuff that means they don't want mascara on their eyelashes or something on their face. So then what? So there are sort of new stereotypes about what autism in women might look like.
I'd be interested if you ask somebody on the street, what does an autistic female look like today? I'd be very interested in the answer, right? But I don't know what people would say.
I know.
I don't know.
But
we don't have to have an answer.
But I think the reason that I'm being a bit cagey to not sort of talk a lot about that and then sort of propagate a new idea on what the female version is because actually we have a lot of, gender non-conforming clients anyway, and the sense of otherness and then otherness can get really strong in those situations.
But there isn't a male presentation of autism, right?
Agreed.
Like anybody can be autistic and no two people's autistic presentation is the same.
Totally.
And this makes it so difficult for society. This is part of the problem. It is so different. It is so individual. It's not binary, and it's not these 5 things, and it's not these 2 special interests. That, when I think about the communications challenge that there is of catching society up, is a really difficult one, I think, to try and help people understand, because it's sort of like, what does autism look like? Well, you can't really answer that.
I think also there are some things, though, with females that muddy the water. If you think about things like, I don't know, diagnoses, I know we'll talk about this a bit later, but diagnoses that women are more likely to receive, or impact of a menstrual cycle, hormonal health on your presentation. I think those sort of features add more complexity diagnostically.
What are the 3 biggest myths about autism that you would like eradicated?
I'd like us to not think that autism stands alone. So to kind of eradicate that idea that this is a single assessment for a single thing, because people, as we've talked about today, have other forms of neurodivergence, and it's part of who somebody is. I think a myth about autism that I really struggle with is that it's still seen today as being socially awkward. Now, I don't meet very many socially awkward autistic people in my job. I really don't. And I think that's unhelpful for a lot of people. Puts people off actually exploring other things that are perhaps more difficult.
That's 2.
I'd really like it if we could stop, this is quite a specific thing, but to stop trying to work out whether somebody has autism or trauma.
Okay.
And to just be a bit more realistic that autistic people can experience trauma. when I started practicing in the NHS, that was the first thing I was told again and again. We've got to work out, is this autism, is this trauma? And I think there's still a lot of belief in that very reductionist approach.
So is that the belief that...
The belief of clinicians that it's one or the other is the answer.
Okay, not one leading.
No.
Not one leading.
No. But it's
it's either or, binary.
Yeah. And it's widespread.
Wow, I've not really thought about that or come across or come up against that maybe. I definitely am very aware that a lot of autistic people have experienced trauma, definitely. And we're going to talk about the kind of misdiagnoses and some of those barriers in part 2, but I've not come across the fact that someone could actually kind of go, no, you're not autistic, it's just trauma-informed psychology.
Yeah, so I guess this is where things like BPD, borderline personality disorder, and complex PTSD come in, which are more trauma-based presentations. What diagnostic outcome is most right for you? And I guess I just really want to sort of banish that idea that you're having to pick a one or the other with people, because that's unlikely to be helpful for most people, to be sorted into a micro box.
Into a box.
And then that decision will therefore inform something helpful for them.
Yeah, the picture that comes to my mind is Philosopher's Stone, Harry Potter, sorting hat.
Yeah.
And we're going to put a hat on people and you can only be in one house, rather than the reality. And this speaks to all the silos that we have, right, across different neurotypes. And holy guess what? I can be ADHD and autistic. Like, whoa, who knew? So therefore, how do you play out the fact that autism obviously is a focus of yours? You've said that during your assessments, you're going to be looking at everything rather than only one lens. Is this person autistic or not?
Yeah.
How do we solve or sort or improve this idea of different neurotypes, not individual neurotype waiting lists? How do we improve that?
I think what's likely to happen is that all psychiatrists will be expected to diagnose autism and ADHD, as well as potentially in the future other neurotypes, as well as their, psychiatric illnesses per se. It's going to take a long, long time. And I think we're going to have to change what autism assessments look like, because at the moment they're too long to fit into anybody's clinic day.
Okay. Why do they have to be so long?
Well, they don't.
Okay.
They don't. Well, I don't think they do. I think what we should be doing is doing the right sorts of assessments to the right sorts of people and bolting on the right bits. And so that's how now I have the autonomy in private practice to do things. If I'm seeing someone and I think, yeah, we've done some screening, think autism, I'll do the autism bits. If I think, actually, I really think you might have ADHD, we'll build up what you need. If I think you have OCD, I'll refer you to a colleague I'll make the diagnosis and refer you to somebody who can start some treatment there. But I think it's about having something that's a bit more tailor-made, but not in a kind of super fancy way, just in a really pragmatic way.
Yes.
For instance, once you start to get a picture of somebody, just keep following the leads in the right direction. I mean, one of the problems I had in the NHS, and I had a very good time working there, but sometimes I would see somebody and I would know it was the wrong assessment, the wrong A, I used to call it. I'd swap them over, do the right one, and then be told off for rule breaking, or I would go and assess an inpatient who everybody thought was autistic. And, if people are actually telling you, hey, we don't do this, but we think this is an autistic person, could you come and see? I'd be like, yeah, sure, I'll set some time aside. In my admin time, I'll go and do an assessment for you. And then you're sort of told in trouble because that's not commissioned work. It's not what you're being paid to do.
Okay.
You're being paid to go through a waiting list of primary care referrals sequentially.
Yes, stick to the process.
Yeah.
Yes, wild.
So it's that flexibility, I think, is what we would need to introduce to the system.
Yeah, and getting to the end of this first part, Alison, I'm just reminded of the very, very simple fact that everybody only has one brain. Right?
Keep it together.
Yeah. And yet we want to put it into all these different parts through all these different diagnostic pathways, different people, different specialists. And I get it. Like, the brain is a really complex thing, which is amazing. I mean, if I'm really honest, we just need to get a bunch of autistic people with brilliant brains to sort this out. Join all the dots, simplify it, make it really clear, practical, logical.
But this is the difficulty, is on the ground, you can't join the dots.
Yeah.